What you see every day is not the entire market. The news, stock prices, charts, and indices are just the parts the financial system allows you to see. You think this is where the money is made. In reality, this is just the display window. The real profits are not on your screen. They don't need ads. They don't need retail investors, and they don't need your understanding. If you can't see it, it's not because it doesn't exist. It's because you were never the target audience. In this video, we're not talking about the finance you already know. We're talking about the most profitable and most invisible part of finance. Most people enter finance through the exact same door: stocks, funds, indices. They look professional, transparent, and easy to trade. You can see the price, you can check the data. You can even see the track record. And all of this creates a feeling. You feel like you're inside a fair market, but public markets are exactly where profits are compressed the hardest. Because this is where everyone is allowed in. When everyone sees the same information stops being valuable. When everyone can buy the same assets, returns get eaten by competition. This isn't a conspiracy, it's a natural outcome of markets. The real function of public markets is not to create wealth, it's to distribute wealth that already exists. And when you step into the distribution zone, the creation zone has already closed. If public markets are the front door of finance, the real money flows through the back door, not because they are more complex, but because you're not allowed inside. Private equity, private credit, venture capital. You've probably heard these terms, but you've never truly participated. Not because you don't understand them, but because they were labeled private from the start. The most profitable deals often happen where there are no price tickers, no live charts, no retail investors. They don't need to be seen because their opponent isn't the market, it's time. This capital enters earlier and sits closer to the company. They're not predicting the future, they're shaping it. By the time you see a company go public, for them, it's often already the exit phase. This isn't information asymmetry, it's access asymmetry. The most profitable parts of finance aren't hidden. They were simply never meant for you to participate. You might think the most profitable parts of finance are invisible because they're too complex. The truth is the opposite. They're invisible because they have to be. In finance, information isn't the scarcest resource, access is. The moment something becomes visible to everyone, its profit margin starts to disappear. That's why the most profitable financial activities never show up in the news. They won't appear in your trading app, or even in content made by professional investors. Their moat isn't technology or algorithms, it's three invisible walls. The first wall, minimum capital requirements. You're not losing, you're simply not qualified. The second wall, legal and structural barriers. It's not that you won't buy, it's that you legally can't. The third wall, timing. By the time you hear about an opportunity, for them, it's often already over. This isn't a flaw in finance, it's the structure it runs on. Because in a truly fair, fully transparent market, no one can earn excess profits for long, so the system chose to push the most profitable parts out of sight. If the most profitable parts of finance happen where you can't see, then one question becomes unavoidable. What is the market you see every day actually for? It's not a stage, it's an exit. The core function of public markets isn't to make you rich. It's to provide three things. First, liquidity. When private capital needs to turn paper gains into real money, it needs someone to buy. Second, valuation display. An IPO isn't the finish line, it's the process of turning a story into a price. Third, risk transfer. Once risk is priced, split, and packaged, it can be sold. Sold to whom? To those who believe it's an opportunity. When you buy in public markets, someone else is often cashing out. This isn't manipulation, it's design. You weren't tricked into the market, you were needed in the market. Because without you, those invisible profits could never be realized. At this point, many people start blaming themselves. Did I not study enough? Am I just not good at this? So you read books, take courses, watch videos. You learn asset allocation, diversification, long-term investing. All of this is real knowledge, but here's the problem. They were never meant to get you into the most profitable layer. Financial education only teaches what can be publicly replicated, because the most profitable part can't be scaled through teaching. If it could be turned into a course, a book, or sold online, it would already no longer be the real source of profit. This isn't a conspiracy, it's the logic of replication. The system allows you to learn how to participate, but it never teaches you how the game is designed. That's why you develop an illusion. You feel like you know a lot, yet you're always one step away from real profits. That step isn't knowledge, it's position. Once you realize the most profitable parts of finance will never be accessible to you, the real question is no longer, how do I get in? It becomes, where should I stand? The biggest mistake regular people make is trying to copy a system that was never built for them. You copy their strategies without their information, access, or patience, so the risk is yours, while the advantage belongs to them. That doesn't mean regular people are doomed. It means one thing: you shouldn't obsess over excess returns. Your real advantage was never inside the financial system. It exists in three places. First, time. The system chases short-term efficiency. What you can do is survive long-term. Second, skills. The system rewards capital, but individuals can still exchange skills for income. Third, control. You can't control the market, but you can control leverage, risk, and pace. Mature financial thinking isn't fantasizing about entering the invisible layer. It's accepting reality and playing your hand well from where you actually stand. You may never see the most profitable layer of the financial system. You won't sit in those rooms. You won't be part of those deals. You won't even hear their names. But that doesn't mean they don't affect you. In fact, the opposite is true. That invisible money helps decide why rent keeps rising, why assets get more expensive, and why wages always lag behind. Life feeling more expensive isn't because you did something wrong. It's because the layer you live in is quietly supporting the layers above it. The most powerful thing about finance isn't letting you participate, it's making you part of it without you even noticing. So the real question isn't whether you can see that money. It's whether you understand how it's shaping your entire life. Because in finance, the most expensive things are often the ones you think don't exist.